Thierry Lindor, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Martin.
First of all, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it as being my first guest. Thierry, you're a real estate expert, entrepreneur, and speaker. You are the founder of Remax Griffintown, and you've acquired, sold, and helped financed over $200 million of residential, commercial, and institutional properties. A couple of years ago, you founded Influence Orbis,
Yep.
a movement which aims to give meaning to entrepreneurial innovation, and the goal is to reunite under one roof local and international influencers, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, in order to inspire, inform, and influence the next generation of business owners. I thought we'd start somewhere where perhaps most people wouldn't associate you with, at least the people that first learn about who you are and what you do as a successful business owner, and that is basketball.
Yep.
You initially wanted to be a pro basketball player. So
That is correct.
Tell us a bit more about that, like origin story. Why was that an important part of your life?
I started off, Martin. Again, thank you for having me. I'm really, really honored to be here, and I have a lot of consideration for you. I've always connected with you on a visceral level. I think you're a dope person, and shout out for you for creating this amazing content.
Thank you.
But yeah, I started off as someone that wanted to be what he saw on TV, and I grew up in an area that was pretty rough growing up in Montreal. You know, people think Canada. I hear that a lot because I speak in the States.
Everyone's
sometimes.
nice, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's 30-something million people up there, and everybody sings Kumbaya and loves one another. But no, whenever there's going to be economic challenges, you're going to have quote unquote ghettos, and you're going to have economic challenges. And I grew up wanting to be what I saw on TV, and what I saw on TV were black and brown kids playing sports. Or or dancing, or being an entertainer. So I grew up wanting to be a professional basketball player because I can't sing for my life. You know what I mean? So if I could sing, I would have probably wanted to be Beyonce-ish or Michael Jackson-ish. But I could actually dribble a basketball pretty good, and I could run pretty fast. And so I picked up basketball, and that was my dream. I wanted to be a professional basketball player.
Okay. And did you find it, because now obviously you're doing your own thing, you had your business Remax Griffintown, you started that, but was it challenging for you to actually disassociate from the people that you used to hang out with? Because obviously, like, I'm sure you've had the, similar to me, like I didn't grow up in like the most wealthy neighborhood and whatnot. So like obviously it teaches you the right things, it teaches you some great things, but how do you disassociate from those people when your goals and your mindset doesn't align with them anymore?
That is an excellent question, Martin. Nobody's ever asked me that question, but I don't think the word I would use would be dissociate. What I would use as a word is, and I've told that to a lot of my friends, is I outgrew the relationship.
Okay.
I think relationships should always grow. You know what I mean? Like if one day me and you, the best example I could give you is, you have hopes of becoming a billionaire and I have hopes of becoming a millionaire. Well, our relationship is going to outgrow itself because you're going to get to a level where you're going to have to surround yourself with like-minded people. You're going to have to hire people that could take you to that goal. You're going to have to have mentors. You're going to have allies. You're even going to have opponents, business opponents that are other billionaires.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And in the process of growth, and which is what I like to refer it to as I outgrew tons of my friends because hanging out at the corner, hanging out at the basketball court, trying to pick up girls, trying to, a lot of my friends were selling drugs. So trying to have a big score or settling the record straight with another gang, it just was not part of what I wanted for myself. So I did not dissociate myself as much as just outgrew our relationship. And I would tell them that. Because they would say, oh, you changed. I would say, no, I'm evolving. It's not that I've changed. I'm the same person. I'm just evolving, and I'm vibrating at a different frequency, where they're still vibrating at the same frequency as before. And I think I saw Snoop Dogg or somebody say that reference where, you could either level up in life or level down, right? You can't really stay the same. Yeah. So I asked a lot of my friends, like, hey, you were an amazing drug dealer. You were an amazing gang leader. How about you just go straight and you start to level up? Because I'm not going to level down. Yeah. And then people make their choices.
And sorry for cutting, but I think it's it's a great point too, in the sense that if you're stagnating, you're probably going a little bit down.
Correct.
Like you're never really staying the same spot, right?
Nobody. You can't drive a bike. You can't ride a bike and not move. You're either slowing down, which is eventually going to stop, or going backward, or you're going to drive forward. But you can't logically, oh no, I'm just the same. No way. There's no way. You can't stay the same.
And did something, because obviously it's an evolution and we're constantly changing, but did something trigger you to like over time, or did it happen like overnight?
That's a good one too. I've always wanted a lot. I always
is it because you wanted to give back, or?
Yeah, but it's anchored in giving back, but it's also, I come from a family of 10 kids.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 brothers and sisters.
You're the eldest one, right?
I'm the eldest son. I have an older sister, but 10 brothers and sisters. So my father always told me, I'm going to make sure I discipline you so I don't have to discipline the other.
Okay.
Yeah, he always told me that, and he would tell me, I'm going to make sure you're a good, productive citizen so you could be that example for your other brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. I had an older sister, but back then, I'm not the kind of guy to kind of say a woman and men are different. We are biologically different. But he would always say, I can't necessarily hit your sister or correct her or discipline her the same way I could discipline you. But I know I can make you a tough enough kid that you're going to show a great example. So for me, all I ever wanted was everything. If tomorrow I have a chance to be Prime Minister of Canada, you're damn right I'm going to jump on that chance. And then people think, oh, you're crazy. Well, I think you have to be crazy. I think in life, that's what you should be. You should be crazy. Because some people are just not crazy enough. So for me, I'm going to go after everything that I have coming for me as long as I work for it, you know?
Yeah. And, well, obviously it's something that I respect a lot about you, because not only are you the founder, owner of Remax Griffintown, but you're doing all these other things.
Yeah. Like, a bit too much, according to some.
Which is why I was like, oh man, setting up a podcast with him, I'm sure like just taking a little bit of time of your day is going to be a lot. But how did you, what was the initial idea behind Influence Orbis?
Great question. I wanted, in a nutshell, I attended in Montreal, as you know, we're the city of festivals. We have more festivals than any other city in the Western Hemisphere, which is pretty impressive in and of itself when you stop and think about it. And I truly, genuinely wanted to see a conference, not a festival, but a conference that was about business and that had diversity. Because I go to every single business conferences there is in Montreal, and it's always the same people. They tend to not look like me. They tend to not come from the same background as we do, me and you, Martin. And I was just like, well, how is this fair? Like, how can we
relate?
Yeah, relate. How can I think I'm an exception that proves the rule. There's no wonder all the kids go in sports that are like us, like diverse. And no wonder we go in entertainment, because we don't feel like we belong to the entrepreneurial scene. Mm-hmm. And then I said, literally, let me make a conference that is affordable, diverse, and inclusive. And the minute I say this to a ton of people when I do interviews, if you are not affordable, you lose diversity. Mm-hmm. And technically, if you charge even $1, you are an exclusive conference. Yeah. Because the way to be 100% inclusive, and I hope that one day I get there, shout out to the people that are going to be listening to this and that are joining us as sponsors, because the more sponsors we get, the goal is to drive it down to zero. You know, I like what Vice President Gore says, you know, zero emission, a couple of years ago, I want to get to zero entry fee, zero admission. Yeah. You know, not zero emission, but I want to get to zero admission, where every year Influence MTL is a free conference for all Montrealers, Quebecers, Canadian citizens, and even Americans. You just get yourself here, and you're going to see tremendous speakers, you're going to gain tremendous value, and it's going to be literally free, affordable.
Yeah, which is something that relates back to something you told me this, I think, when the first time we met. It was at Influence Youth. And no, it was actually at Casey Neistat.
Casey Neistat.
Yeah.
You were there.
The first time I worked with you at Influence was at Influence Youth.
Correct.
And one of the things that you mentioned was being transactional versus being relational.
Yep.
Right? And I think that kind of ties into that zero kind of theory that you want. Well, because at the end of the day, it's not just about like the monetary value that you can gain from something, but it's about the relationships that you can make.
Yeah, and that's so true. Like, Martin, like, I'm here today and I'm blessed enough to be in your space, in your environment. because of the relationship we built. You know, and we don't know each other 100% well, and like we haven't spent tremendous amount of time together. But anytime I've asked for your help, you've been there. Yeah. Like I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, that's why when you said, Terry, will you do my podcast? Like, can I curse here or I can't?
Yeah, sure.
I said, fuck yeah, I'll do it. Like, like no kidding, I'll do it every single time. Like after Influence Gen, we didn't know each other. To put a little context to you guys watching, I see this. Martin's a good-looking man, and he's smart, and he stands out. So I see this guy asking a question, front row. Evidently, you paid your ticket to be there, and you had a question for Casey, and I was like, hey, this guy's charismatic, A. B, you then told me this is what I do, if there's any way I could help. And I remember you saying this, and I was like, that's how you start relationships. That's how you should be relational versus transactional. Because another way to do it would have been, hey, by the way, I'm an artist, I'm a creative, and this is my fee. Tons of people approach me. Trust me, tons of people approach me. You said, how can I help? So what did we do? A month and a half later, Influence Youth. We needed a photographer. We had kids from the ghetto, from marginalized community. We're doing this Black Panther event with workshops. You came in, you shot the day. This is it. And for me, I'm forever going to be there for you. Like anytime you're gonna need me, anytime you're gonna need me, I'm gonna be there, regardless of prime minister of whatever, or you know, multi-millionaire or billionaire or creative this, creative that. I'm always gonna answer your call, your text, and I'm always gonna be there for you, for your platform, because you were there for me. You know, and I think that's how you build long-lasting relationships instead of short-lasting relationships, which are transactional. Yeah,
but it's also. Because a lot of people talk about, let's say, and this is a great segue, I think, is luck, right?
Oh, man.
In you know, in your career and your relationships.
Yeah.
But I think it's just about serendipity and also like rising up to an opportunity if it does present itself.
That's it.
Because I think to me it's just about repetition. Yeah. The more you put yourself out there, the more relationships you're gonna make. The more it's going to happen for you, just naturally by math.
And by math, and also, like you said, by it is a mathematical equation at the end of the day. If I shoot 10 shots a day, I'm going to make, let's say, 60, 70%, right? But if I shoot 1,000 shots a day, if I make 60 or 70%, I'm making 600-700 shots. The ball's going in 600-700 times versus 6 times. So when I meet people and tell Terry, what's the best advice you could give me? I don't know where to start. I was like, go network. Go shake hands. Until 3 years ago, I was shaking 10 hands a day, every single day, 10 new hands. People don't believe me. I did this religiously. And to this day now, I try to do it every other day. But this is how I built my network. Because I always tell people, you talk about luck. The harder you work, the more luck you find. The luckier I get. I don't know about you. But the harder I work, the luckier I get. So when I had this rule of I shake 10 hands a day, I remember 5 names, and I followed through with 3. That's the rule I call the 10-5-3. I would literally go out my way every single day, and I would not go home, True story. I would literally get to a point where I had, let's say, 2 handshakes to make. I would stop strangers in the street and say, hi, my name is Thierry Lindor. This is my card. People look at me weird or like, what the hell is this guy doing? But you would be shocked how much business I did doing this. So give my card, shake hands to random stranger. If I hadn't had my 10 new handshakes a day, I would make it a point that I would remember 5 names. And I would actually follow up with 3 of them. And just this little follow-up, you're that guy that stopped me in the street and shook my hands out of nowhere. And you bring your energy. And people, when I tell them this, they're like, wow, this is crazy. I did this for 13 years. 13 years. From the age of 21 to 34, I did this consistently. And like you said, you could have the best mindset ever. 90% of people don't execute. And beyond execution, 95% are not consistent. So I could even shorten this, right? Everybody nowadays is about Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and has the mindset. They read the books, they go to the seminars, they listen to the podcast. How many people are going to listen to this podcast? So they have the right mindset, they're listening. The amount of people who are going to go execute is maybe 80%. Of that 80%, the amount of people that are going to be consistent is maybe another 95% that you're excluding. So there's only 5% that have the right mindset, that are going to execute, like you are doing right now, and that are going to be consistent.
Yeah.
That are going to have this podcast.
But I think at the end of the day, and that's the big difference between being like motivation versus something like a drive, right?
Interesting.
Like, are you motivated or are you driven? And to me, like this rah-rah that you hear, whether it's on social media or whatever, like the hype on motivation right now is huge.
Massive.
And you know, a lot of my audience do resonate with that, but I also I talk a lot about hard work, because at the end of the day, like I can post as much as I want about, you know, you have to do the work, you have to do this, but it doesn't change your life until you actually do it.
Until you execute.
Yeah, because like it's not lack of information. Like the information's out there.
Correct.
You want to make money? It's easy.
It's easy.
You know how to do it. You can sell stuff online. Like you can make an e-commerce, whatever. You want to get fit? You got to do the push-ups.
Yeah. Everybody knows how to do push-ups. Everybody does them.
Yeah. So it's a lot more about the habits.
Very true.
That you implement, and that's what you did, like consistently for 10 years?
At least 13.
At least 13. You would approach people and just like shake hands.
Shake hands. And in the course of my busy day at Remax Griffintown, or of doing other businesses that people don't know about, but I've started a lot of businesses, I met anywhere between 5 to 8 people every day. So I really had to stop 2-3 strangers a day. But every single day I would meet at least 7 or 8 new people in my network. So my network just got so big. And like I say to everybody, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And the amount of people that would be proud to say, I know this guy, and he knows me back, that to me, that's how I knew I was becoming relevant in the Montreal ecosystem.
Okay.
That's literally how I measured it, Martin, because I knew who Valérie Plante was, I knew who Denis Coderre-Harmeyer was at the time, I knew all these people, but they didn't know me, right? Today I'm able to say that a lot of prominent people in Montreal know me. They know me and I know them, vice versa, right? So I was always in not a competition of how many people's name can I have in my Rolodex, but how many people can say they have me in their Rolodex, which is a slight difference.
There's a difference,
and it makes all of the difference, right? And I like what you said, motivated versus different. I think that might be one of my Motivation Monday, and I'm gonna have to give you a shout out. So you'd rather be driven than motivated, obviously.
Yeah, because it's long term. It's fuel that doesn't exhaust itself.
Yeah.
Like motivational is just like me going
Ephemer.
up. Yeah, it's temporary. Like you could be in because it goes with your emotions, right? Like if you have a good day, oh man, fuck yeah, I'm motivated. Like let's do this. You know, you wake up, everything's great, your family's doing well, your relationships are well for you, your kids are doing well. It's easy to be motivated. But what happens when life hits you in the face?
And it hits.
It hits.
Life hits.
every time, let's say I started my business 2 years ago, and every time I felt like, oh yeah, everything's going great. The next day, you know, shit hits the fan, and something happens, and that's just gonna just gonna repeat itself over and over again.
And I love what you just said. Life is like the internet. I think it's undefeated. Life will not lose against you. If you're not driven, you will lose at this game, quote unquote, of life. So I like this. I totally like this. And see, I never thought about it, but I guess I'm more driven than motivated. And I've met a ton of motivated people. Yeah. But I guess my drive is just outlasting a lot of people.
And I'm sure you embrace the challenge too.
I love challenges. And that's where I'm thankful to the shitty media that we have around us that portray Black, brown, Asian people, Latinos as a certain kind of... all Latinos can cook good and they could dance salsa. And Black people, they could jump and they could sing, right? Oh, Asians can do karate and they're like stupid stuff. So I'm thankful to the media because of sports. Because of getting on a line, running what we call suicides, which is running for a tremendous amount of time and killing yourself, because of having to practice twice a day, because of having to lift weight, I've developed discipline. So when I get into a room with an entrepreneur that went to private school and got everything he wanted all his life, and he bust his butt, but he never was disciplined like I was and didn't grow up with the challenges that I had economically, I know I'm going to win. I'm confident I'm going to whoop his ass because I'm not going to quit. So good luck. I'm not going to give up. And I have the discipline. I've done it for all my life. I played sports for 14 years of my life, from the age of 5, literally to the age of 19 and even beyond as a professional athlete. So I'm not scared of any challenge. And like you said, I love challenges. You give me a challenge, let's do this.
Do you have a quote that you live by every day?
Definitely have one. You've probably heard me say it before. My father told me this. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. I talked about it earlier. But because we kind of touched on that before, I'm going to tell you the second one that's really helped me tremendously in my life. Still my father. In life, there's two types of people. There's people that take risk, and there's people that work for the people that take risks. And you got to pick one. It's a bit like saying, I'm not moving forward, but I'm not moving backward. No, it's either you're going to take risk or you're going to work for somebody that take risk. Period. And there's
nothing wrong or bad.
Correct. Or good. Thank you. People, oh shit, yeah, that's true. I want to take, no, that's not what I'm saying. If you work at somebody the other day, a friend of mine, well, Terry, that's not true. I work at the city. They don't. Yes, they do. The city is taking a risk with you. If you work for the city, you're not taking that risk. The city's taking that risk because it's our tax dollars that are paying your salaries, right? So as an entrepreneur, as a content creator, yourself, you're taking risk every single day. You could definitely be making $100,000 a year in the next 5 years or more working as an executive and being an entrepreneur somewhere, working your way up the ladder.
Yeah.
But you're taking that risk. Shout out to you for doing so.
Thanks, bro. But it's all about, like, again, what is sustainable for you, right? I tried working in companies before, having bosses and all that stuff, but I never found it very fulfilling for me.
And why is that? I'm curious.
I'm someone, like, I've always been a creative.
Yeah.
So whenever I do have to do something, whenever I want to create something, I want to make sure that it's with my vision.
Got you.
And obviously, like, there's different people that like different stuff. But for me, being in an organization where I would have to answer to somebody, it was never me, right?
And I love that you're saying this because I think that shows that at the core, I think entrepreneurship is something that you have in your DNA or not. It does not mean that you cannot become a good entrepreneur, but I definitely what you just touched on is the essence of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's like what comes natural to you.
Correct.
Because if I'm not a good piano player, tomorrow I could probably get some piano lessons and become decent at it.
That's it.
But if it doesn't come naturally and I don't have the interest, I'm probably not going to stick at it very long.
That's it. Steph Curry is a great natural shooter, but I promise you Steph Curry has taken millions and millions of shots. Now, like you just said, I could take you in a gym, show you how to shoot. You will become a good shooter if you put in the work and put in repetition. Can you play in the NBA and shoot like Steph Curry? Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's where I love that, like you just said, it's in you. And some people fight it. I think some people, that little entrepreneurial voice that's in them, they shut it down. They quiet it down. Maybe out of fear, out of social judgment, out of social pressure.
Oh, definitely. I think so many people are living their lives based on other people's judgment.
100%. Especially visible minorities.
Yeah.
If you come from a family of immigrants, Italians, my Italian friends, my Greek friends, everybody, you have to be a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, or all these kind of jobs that our parents want for us. But being an entrepreneur is not it. It's not cool. I'm excited about the next 25 years because when you have kids, I already have kids, I'm going to tell my kids that they could be whatever they want, and that includes entrepreneurial. They could be entrepreneurship. So I'm excited to see, and I was part of that generation as well, what kind of entrepreneurs are going to rise up out of the next generation of entrepreneurs because they've been encouraged to be entrepreneurs. Contrary to, I grew up, my dad wanted me to be an architect or a lawyer. I could have been, a lawyer. I think I would have done well, but I don't think I would have been happy.
Well, same for me. I come from immigrant family.
Yeah.
My mom is German. My dad is Vietnamese, and they both like fled the country to move to somewhere else because of the war and everything. And for them, it was all about having a stable job.
Correct.
And there's nothing wrong with that because they came from a scenario that made them have that mindset.
They want security.
They want security, and
There was no security
They
where
want
they
what's
were.
best for you.
Correct.
And that's what a lot of people don't, especially like on Instagram. Like I get these DMs that ask me from people from all over the world. They ask me like, oh, how do you do what you want to do? Because sometimes your parents might want you to do something else.
That's a great one.
And to that, I always tell them, like, if you're living at home and your parents are paying for everything, well, they probably have a big say in that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but if you want to take ownership of whatever you're doing, then go outside, make your own money, and live with the consequences of your action.
And I'll go a step further into what you just said, which is 100% right. I'll jump into, it goes back again to security. If I'm a parent now today, when my daughter is gonna get to the age of, let's say, 17, Daddy, I'm not 18 yet, but I want to go live on my own. Like, I want to go study somewhere abroad. If I don't feel secure enough that she's able to do this, I'm not going to be a cheerleader of what she wants to do. I'm going to be a detractor of what she's trying to do.
Okay.
But like you just said, if you live at your parents' house, you play video games all day and watch porn, chances are when you go see your parents and say, Dad, Mom, I don't want to do what you guys want me to do. I want to do what I want to do. Your parents are not going to support this because they're not secure about your choice, your life choice. But if you work out, take care of yourself, if you sit your parents down and you come with a plan and say, Mom, Dad, I want to open a coffee shop. And these are the reason why. This is how I'm going to do it. You guys own a building. I will take a loan from you instead of taking a loan. And everything I'm telling you, this is something I did with my parents.
Okay, that's cool. That's amazing.
Dad, Mom, Dad, I'm going to go play professional basketball. Oh my God, no, you're not. Well, this is why, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go play professional basketball. My first money that I'm going to make, I'm going to use 80% of it invested in real estate. The balance of 20%, I'm going to buy myself a car, which is a stupid decision. And I'm going to invest the balance in the stocks. When my parents saw that I had a plan, they had no choice.
Yeah.
I quit school, quit Vanier College. I didn't finish Vanier College. I still have to write my English exit exam. And I went to play professional sports.
Okay.
But it was so hard for them, yet they felt secure in my decision because they said, A, our son is a winner. We know that from his competitiveness on the court. He has good discipline, and he has a plan.
Yep.
So suddenly they felt, well, Thierry is an adult now because he approached us. And I don't think there's an age for that. I think that if a 15-year-old approaches you with a good plan and he's not doing drugs, he's not hanging out with the parents want to feel secure. Yep. And when you come to them and you have a secure, clear plan and a clear vision of how you accomplish this, they're okay with it. And even bosses. Have you ever approached, for the people listening, have you ever approached a boss with no plan whatsoever and asked for funding for an idea that you had? Yep. But approach your boss with, I know we've been doing this way, but I have based on, and then approach them with study, approach them with a way to think, approach them with a vision, approach them with a budget. Chances are they're going to give you a go, and it goes back to security. Our authority will always challenge you when they feel insecure. Any form of authority, your boss, your business partner, your bank who has authority on your finances. Yep. But when you have a clear vision and a plan, anybody listening to this, think of this as a paradigm. Shift your paradigm. Authority always has problem and insecurities about being secure. So try to always make people feel secure whenever you have an idea or a project, regardless about you leaving your house, starting, dropping off out of school, presenting a project to your boss's boss, or whatever.
That's a really good point. I feel like it's the same thing if you want to raise, right?
100%.
A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I have the same salary for 2-3 years. I asked for a raise, but I mean, if you don't concretely like say, look, this is what I'm doing more for you, yep. And if you give me this raise, I'm gonna be willing to do X, Y, Z. Then people are not gonna just give you money.
Period.
You know?
You have to make authority feel secure. Period. Yep. And even, let's say, I'll jump into relationships. I have a lot of people reach out. How do you balance life, work, relationships? Right? Your wife. In my case, I'm heterosexual. But I'm speaking for me. But if you're homosexual, it'll be the same thing, right? So I'm heterosexual. My spouse has certain authority over the time that I spend in a day, right? So when your spouse comes up to you and says, "Martin, what the fuck are you doing working until this time of the day? And our life is not changing. Our life is not evolving. It has to do with authority and security once again. If you lay out a plan to your spouse about how you're going to make things work and why you spending time out is productive
for the relationship.
Correct. They, quote unquote, feel secure, and then things are able to move forward.
Yeah.
It always goes back to security when it has to do with authority.
Amazing. You seem like a pretty confident speaker now.
Yeah.
And I've heard you talk at countless events, Influence. You talked at RBC, the bank. Was that always the case, or did you learn that?
No. I always had an ease at communicating, and once again, thanks to the media for portraying sports as being the only solution for me as a young kid. I played point guard, and when you play point guard, for those of you who don't know, it's a bit like being the quarterback. You have to speak. Okay. You have to talk. You have to lead. You have to communicate. And when you play basketball at my height, Martin, you're a tall guy. I'm 5'9". So basketball is a tall man's sport. So when you're 5'9" and you're there bossing around 6'5", 6'7", we had a 7'1" player, Samuel Dalembert. Shout out to Sam, who played in the NBA with Allen Iverson. You have to develop this confidence about exchanging and communicating. So I was always good at that, but speaking in front of public, I worked on. I worked on a little bit. I can't lie about that. I took on some tips. And practice makes perfect. Yep. Today, I could speak at Grant's 10X conference like I could speak in front of 10, 15 kids. And to be honest with you, speaking in front of 5,000, 10,000 people is a lot easier for me than speaking to high school kids.
Yeah.
You have to kind of like grasp their attention quick or else you're toast.
You're
true.
Fucking and done. When it's a more intimate setting, you feel like people are not judging you, but they're more part of what you're saying, right?
For me, it's not so much as feel as when I'm speaking, let's say to a room of 3,000 plus people, I can't gauge their energy as easy as you can when it's micro. When it's intimate, when it's like 10, 20, 15 people, trust me, you could hear everything. You could hear the gasp, you could hear the comments, you could hear the guy tapping on his phone. You could hear everything, right? So I'm not going to lie. My way to hack speaking in front of big crowds was to speak in tons of small crowds. I must have spoken like at least 100 to 200 times in front of small. Tip. Yep. Speak in front of, go for free. Go speak to your old high school, plug yourself as a high school speaker and do a lot of them. Go speak in jails, which is my next, I want to speak in jail in 2019. I want to go, that's one of my objectives, 2019. I definitely want to speak in jails. And by 2020, I want to do the 10X conference with Grant. I think I'll be ready for that. But more than that, also, I think as an entrepreneur, a natural migration for entrepreneurship is politics. So eventually, I could see myself getting into politics in some way, shape, or form. It's not an objective of mine. It's never been a goal of mine. But I'm seeing all these entrepreneurs jumping into politics, and it has to do with leading your team and being able to speak in front of people and speak in front of teams. And then eventually, the people that are able to speak are able to connect. Speaking is one of the most important. Our voice is super important. It's important to have a voice, and I think my voice I've gone more and more confident at speaking. I don't prepare, contrary to what people think. I don't write my speeches. I literally
like what we're doing right now. It's off the top of your head. Yeah, exactly.
And practicing podcasts, collaborating on podcasts helps you tremendously on working on your narrative, because I think you need a narrative when you want to get into that public speaking space. You have to have a narrative. And
the cool thing is you're doing what you love, which
this.
again is sustainable. Like a lot of people ask, like, how do you prepare for this? How do you prepare for that? Well, if somebody's gonna ask me about what I do, which is photography, videography, and all that stuff, like I'm gonna know my shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, you ask me about basketball, I probably don't know that much.
But that's an excellent point. Yeah, you're living your truth. You're living what you love. And you could, speaking of which, we're planning a creative conference strictly for creators. Yes. I would love to have you do a workshop or panel. I know I've told you about it before. But 2019, we have to make it happen.
Okay.
So
all right.
Whoever's listening, the audience, stay. If you're from Montreal, Quebec, or even the States, drive down. We're going to get Martin to go on stage and do some form of either workshop or talk. I would love to have you speak your truth. And
I'd love to be there.
Awesome. Deal. We're doing
Deal. What advice do you give to an introvert that is, and I feel like we've talked about this a little bit, but that feels like they want to become an entrepreneur, but they don't really like socializing. It's still a bit about the reps, right? Like just going out.
You know what? In that 15-second story that you're going to do me a favor and you're going to tag my dear friend, Elisabeth Ryu. Okay. Elisabeth said something super important. Shout out to Waka. Shout out to Bamboo Underwear. I ordered mine, by the way, Elisabeth. Shout out to you. She says she is good at creating content, right? Elisabeth Ryu said that, and it's so true. She's good at creating content because she's such an introvert that when she's in front of her camera and there's nobody around, she can produce amazing content, right?
Okay.
So shout out to you, Elisabeth. But Martin, I feel like that the best advice I could give to your audience would be that if you're an introvert, at least be excellent at creating content by yourself.
Okay.
So feel comfortable talking to the camera because there's no audience. And then slowly but surely go from speaking to that camera to speaking at a 5 à 7 networking event, an happy hour networking event. Go to speaking in schools, which we did once again with Elisabeth. We took her to a school, one of the most successful and accomplishing feeling I've had was that collaboration with Elisabeth. She said yes in no time. We went to Marie-Victorin.
Okay, yeah.
It was packed. And people got so much value from just hearing her speak because we went to speak to fashion students.
Okay.
And she started a brand in clothing, right?
Yeah.
But if you talk to Elisabeth and know her a little bit, she's one of the most introverted person you'll ever meet in your life. But she's such a success entrepreneurially, and she is such a success in front of the camera. I think that if you are an introvert, start with being amazing in front of the camera. Because if you can't even talk by yourself in a room and film yourself talking to a camera, then we might have a deeper problem than just being introverted, right?
Yeah.
But if you could do this at least and launch that content, then next thing you know, you have an audience. And that little audience might force you to get out your shell and at least engage from a distance on social media. So people are going to ask you questions. You have to answer. They're going to comment. You have to go back and forth. And that little digital comfort that you're going to get, you might become like Elisabeth is a digital extrovert, but she's a real life introvert. And I think that sometimes to do the transition from one to the other, get good at being an extrovert on digital space and then slowly work your way by participating in talks, in panels. Not talk by yourself because you're going to freaking turn red and pass out. But do a panel where people are asking you moderated question. I think that's how you get out your comfort zone.
Growing up in I wouldn't say like a shitty environment, but
I did. Great family, shitty economic.
How do you get out from that? Like, do you have an advice for people that feel like they want to do more, but they feel like they're anchored in their relationships? Or
I'm going to tell you what I said to high school. I've been saying to high school kids for the past 10 years. I've known a lot of drug dealers in my life, a lot of them, okay? None of them lived in the areas where I grew up. Not the successful ones. I only met successful drug dealers when I made enough money to get out of the ghetto. Meaning when I got to the fancy neighborhoods, the old Montreal, the Griffintown, the downtown Montreal, the Bois Franc of this world. Trust me, there's crooks in these neighborhoods.
Oh, definitely.
Let me tell you something. There are crooks in these neighborhoods. But you know what? They're the most quote-unquote intelligent crooks out there. So if you're slinging crack on the corner, pills, ecstasy, pimping women, pimping boys, doing anything illegal, ask yourself this question. How much sustainability is there in this lifestyle? And if you are honest with yourself, really check yourself. I'm not talking about your capo above you, your general, your boy that makes a bit more money than you because he lives in the same neighborhood as you. I'm talking about the guy you never see. The guy that you see once in a while park is $250,000 car, but yet you never see, you never speak to him. What choice has he made in his life that enables him to not talk to you, not exchange with you, not hit a woman, not give drugs at 2 o'clock in the morning to a crackhead, not have an AK-47 in his hands. Because if your definition of power is having a weapon in your hand, being feared, then you need to change your paradigm. Because that guy in his fancy car that doesn't have to do what you do anymore because now he owns a restaurant and he's a legitimate businessman, quote unquote, he decided that he'd rather be respected than feared. Yeah. And both will give you power. I've seen it. Having a gun put to your face, which I've had, you will feel powerless. Yeah. If you have a gun pointed right between your eye, you will feel a brief second of powerlessness where you feel like somebody could decide whether you live or die. Whereas the other person with the gun might feel some power. But I'll tell you what beats the gun. Literally, influence. Being an influential individual. I don't like the term influencer. Being an impactor, being an influencer, a real one, a person of influence, that is the most powerful thing you could have. That person that no longer deals drugs and has that fancy car, he has influence. He's able to make sure that other people work for him and do his dirty work. Now, let's trace it back to choices, because it's all about that. When you realize that whatever you're doing right now, which is working hard, being disciplined, cooking up dope, right? Being consistently bad at doing wrong things, if you apply and shift this to sports, you will be an amazing athlete. If you shift this to creative, you will be an amazing creator.
Yep.
If you shift this to rap, which a lot of our people do, black and brown, you will be an amazing rapper. If you shift that discipline you have in being the best gangbanger that you could be towards being the best entrepreneur, you will be an amazing entrepreneur. Point blank, period. You might not be popular within your boys. You might not be feared, but I'll tell you what you'll be.
Respected.
You'll be respected. It goes back to respect. And respect brings a tremendous amount of power. It's a different kind of power than fear, but it is still a very, very big power.
Do you have any ask or parting thoughts for my audience before we wrap up the interview?
Guys, I'm going to be very selfish. I'm going to ask you if you follow and value me as a person or what I said during this podcast, take the time to follow My Voice Matter, Influence Orbis, at myvoicematters.ca, at Influence Orbis. And if you do have time, no need to, but check me out, Thierry Lindor, on all platforms. I own my truth. I live my truth. And for my audience that's listening to this, follow this guy. Because at 25, what he's doing, he's going to be in the Billionaire Boys Club. I guarantee you that. And billionaire, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about massively influential. This is somebody that's going to have influence. So for my audience, follow Martin on his pages. And for your audience, well, join the journey. We're going to have fun. It's going to get fun.
Yeah, he does amazing Motivation Mondays. Like every time, and that's what I like is consistency. Like you do give every Monday, you have that video and it talks about like subjects that everyone is dealing with.
Yep, everybody. And in the 2019, we got a couple of stuff working out, a couple of cool conference. But stay tuned. We're going to still do the Motivation Monday, but we're going to tweak it with what's been really working is those Tips Tuesdays and those Wednesday Wisdom.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, we're going to turn these into like concrete live. So we're probably going to do 1 week Motivation Monday, 1 week Tip Tuesday. And it's going to be in a format of a pretty high quality live on Facebook, which is going to be redistributed into a podcast.
That's awesome.
So we're going to, every week, we're going to create a different form of content to keep the audience on their edge. So 2019 should be cool. And we're going to have you definitely on one of the Tip Tuesday live session.
Can't wait for that. Before I ask the final question, I want to take a moment to acknowledge you, Thierry Lindor. You not only have you built like a successful business like you did, but you've built a movement, which is Influence Orbis. And that's how I got to meet you.
Yep.
And that's how I got to be inspired by what you do.
Awesome.
And being a part of that movement, impacting not only the business owners that are here today, but the future, which is the youth.
Yeah, the youth, 100%.
So thank you for that, man.
Thank you, brother.
My last question.
Yeah.
What is your definition of success?
My definition of success, I always say this, you will be legacy. That's in one word, it's legacy. And I believe that I'm going to be remembered for my deeds and my seed. So my kids are going to outlast me, and what I did as a man is gonna vibrate through time, and it's gonna be timeless because of my kids and the actions that I did. So my definition of success would be a legacy worth sharing. Yeah,
that's awesome. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, bro. Man.
Thierry Lindor.
Appreciate this. Awesome podcast. Hey.
Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to follow my page so that you don't miss any of the upcoming interviews.